I'd like to point out we are on Sons of the Shoe. Don't know which Tiger got out of the cage with 92.3 The Fan, but Nick and Spencer back here. And it's funny, I think, watching Caleb DeBoer get or Kalen DeBoer get the Alabama job has brought up a lot of conversations just about the situation he walks into. And it's funny because, like, I don't I don't know you could have walked into a better situation if you're Kalen DeBoer walking into a playoff team from last year. And yet, because of the implications of taking over for Nick Saban, people are acting like he's walking into a cursed job. And I cannot figure out how there's almost like a bless your heart attitude towards Kalen DeBoer being the new head coach at Alabama.
I think it's simply because who you're following. I think it's as plain as that. Like, you are following it. We have these, like, you have GOAT debates in all sports. LeBron, MJ, Belichick, Shula, whatever at the NFL level, like whatever GOAT topic you want to throw out there. Nick Saban is undisputedly the greatest college football coach of all time. Like, I don't even think it's up for discussion. Like, you could throw somebody at me and I would probably just laugh. I think maybe the person who comes closest is another
Hugh
Alabama.
Jackson.
At Grambling State, big time winner down there, huh?
Too soon, jeez. Freddie Kitchens.
No, where is he? Where is he now? I don't even know. But yeah, like, you could throw somebody at me at the college level, and I'd probably laugh you off because I don't think there's anybody that comes close. So yes, while you made the born on third base reference at the end of the first segment there, like, he's stepping into a situation, getting the keys to the car, getting the keys to a shiny new car, and his job is just not to crash it. But I think that's easier said than done when you're following the guy who drove it as smooth as anybody. You know what I mean? Like, he's got to try to keep a lot of these recruits around who didn't commit to him. I actually had a conversation with Amari Cooper last week in the Browns locker room. And I basically just wanted to talk to him about Nick Saban and the impact he had on him as a player and all this different stuff when that news broke. And I mean, Amari Cooper flat out said, like, I was a kid from Miami. I didn't know anything about Alabama other than the Montgomery bus boycott with MLK. Like, that was the only thing that he basically had of reference to of Alabama before he went to school there. And he admitted, like, Nick Saban was a big reason why I went, because I knew he was going to get me ready for the NFL. I knew he was a great coach, and that was the big lure. So is Kalen DeBoer the same thing? I do think it helps that you have Saban, it sounds like, still sort of around in the shadows. He's going to be part of the process, and I'm sure he's going to talk to guys about, try to sell them on why Kalen's message or Kalen's the right man for the job and why they should still buy in. But it's different when it's not the person that you were committing to. We know recruiting is so much about relationships. So I just think it's a difficult situation because you're, again, the guy you're following. Nobody wants to follow the guy. They want to follow the guy that followed the guy. So it's whoever comes after Kalen DeBoer is actually in a better situation than Kalen DeBoer.
So are we talking about head coaching or glory holes? Because I can't tell.
Oh, Lordy. Maybe both, I guess.
Is it better to follow the guy or follow the guy that follows the guy? Who really knows? So
get some sloppy sevenths or something.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't, right? I love leftovers personally. Like, just like, give me day old lasagna, brother. Like, and I'm living the dream. So here's the thing. There's really no difference in the situation that Ryan Day stepped in 4 years ago to the one that Kalen DeBoer stepped in. So, yeah. I mean, I guess maybe, Urban Meyer's thought to be one of the greatest coaches. He's not the GOAT. Maybe that's the difference. And maybe in terms of internal pressure, like, it's funny now that people at Ohio say, oh, well, Ohio, Ryan Day's not an Ohio guy. It's like, he had double the experience as a assistant coach in Columbus that Urban Meyer did, and Urban qualified as an Ohio guy. So I don't really know what makes an Ohio guy if somebody was an assistant before becoming the head coach at Ohio State. But I think, I think even that, like, only having 2 years as an assistant has hurt Ryan Day because He's just not seen as an Ohio guy. I think Kalen DeBoer walks into a very similar situation. And it's funny because Kalen DeBoer, as a head coach early in his career at a much lower level, won, I think, 3 national championships in 4 years. Then he bounced around as people's, coordinator, but Fresno State, I think it was 19 wins in 2 years. In Washington, I think it was something like 25-2 or something ridiculous like that. So it's there. Like he knows how to coach football. He knows how to win. What I think the problem is, it's almost similar to Ryan Day. Kalen DeBoer has never really stepped in at this level and won consistently with his own players, right? Lasted 2 years at Fresno, 2 years at Washington. That's not to say he can't do it, but it is part of the conversation that you don't know that when you get 3 years in and that roster is fully his, whatever name, image, and likeness, to steal a Dabo Swinney quote, it was built in. Can he sustain, right? I have no doubt that the same way that Ryan Day kind of sustained winning of Urban's, class and crew the first couple years, I have no doubt Kalen DeBoer could do it. But I really think, and right now, where's Ryan Day in? Well, you haven't beaten Michigan in 3 years. I think Kalen DeBoer steps into a situation where I think he could have more immediate success, meaning he could win a national title next year at Alabama if he keeps the band back together while also bringing in the right quarterback if Jalen Milroe transfers out. But man, I got to say, long term, the problem isn't immediate success when both guys were effectively born on third base. And make no mistake about it, just because Kalen DeBoer wasn't there doesn't mean that he is rounding home. That's the kind of situation that he is walking into in Alabama. I think the question becomes, can that guy win once Nick Saban's image you get farther and away from that, and you're 3 or 4 years down the road, and that program is entirely your own?
I think that is why it makes that job almost feel more difficult to me. I mean, you bring up the comparison to Ohio State. I think seeing what we've seen, I mean, we just spent the whole first segment sort of talking about Ryan Day and what he needs to accomplish, what has to happen for him to keep his job and the pressures that are already on him. I think following up Urban Meyer was hard enough at Ohio State, where now you have to, like you said, now you have to follow up Nick Saban. This is, so if we're sort of if the point we're trying to get to here is which job is the better job, or the job that you would rather be stepping into, I think the answer is Ohio State, because you have a better, like winning the Big Ten is objectively not as difficult as winning the SEC. And yes, Ohio State has this image to uphold and this, history to uphold. And they've won national championships, and the Urban Meyer days aren't so far removed that you don't remember them, that you can still you can still get there. But I think there's already been internal pressures on Ryan Day in that same vein. I think with DeBoer, it's just, it's twofold. Here's the other difference too. We're sitting here talking about first segment. The main goal at Ohio State is beat your biggest rival. And I'm not saying that doesn't matter at Alabama. They want to beat Auburn every year. But I think that for you at Alabama, the main goal seems to be you're playing for national championships because of the standard that Nick Saban established. So I'm not saying that he has to win a national championship this year, Kalen DeBoer, but I do think there's more pressure to do that. Ryan Day, the bar is a little bit lower. I know we just said that they'll move it. Fans will gradually move it if he wins the Big Ten next year. But the main goal going into 2024 is, listen, just beat Michigan, and we'll start to rethink some things and about how we feel about you. That's if he does that, then he's kind of sitting pretty going into 2025. Kalen DeBoer, it's going to be okay, yeah, we get it. There's an adjustment period. There's some growing pains. You're trying to convince guys to stay. So if you don't win it this year, fine. But by year 2, they're going to be hey, we got to see you getting deep into the playoff and making this thing interesting. And then by year 3, you almost have to win one, or else you're talking about a fan base that's going to sort of lose you quickly. One of my takes last week was that I don't know that Kalen DeBoer is even going to get to the end of that 8-year contract, because I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to win immediately. And I don't know that that's going to happen. So I just think that's a more difficult situation to be stepping into. And it does have a lot to do with who you're following. When you're following the guy who's the greatest of all time, that's very, very difficult to do, even though that same guy has also set you up to have sustained success. But you're right. Like, will the aura of Nick Saban still matter in 3, 4, 5 years if that program regresses?
So I'll be honest with you. I think it is a bit of a moving target. Which job is tougher? I think a lot of that corresponds with who are you taking over for, what's the situation you're walking into. And I will admit, I mean, Nick Saban winning 6 national titles has raised the bar. But I just look at it like, if on any given year you beat Michigan or you win a national title at Ohio State, you're successful, right? I look at Alabama, and there's one way, and that one way is winning a national championship. Like, but I think the ultimate to like keep everybody happy is you have to win 2 games a year if you're Ohio State. You have to, the expectation is to beat Michigan and a national title. Whereas at Alabama, it's just win a national title. And some of that is the Alabama-Auburn Bowl, the Alabama-Auburn game has been diminished a bit because Auburn has been caca outside of like 1 or 2 moments for the last 20 years. But no, I mean, I think that's really interesting. I think it's almost easier to do that at Alabama because if you run through the SEC, you're going to have a chance to go ahead. But like, if you said you could win a national championship every year but lose to Auburn, I would venture to say a majority of Bama fans would take that win.
Yeah.
At Columbus, I think the bar is no. We win the national championship and we beat Michigan. That's the only way we'll be fully happy.
See, but I still think beating Michigan is an easier task than going everyone wants to win a national championship. You're the one team that your job is to beat Michigan, right? Like, I don't mean to say like it's a diminished goal. It's not as important, because it is. But I'm saying to go into a season and be like, our number one goal is let's beat Michigan and win the Big Ten because we do that. Versus go win a national championship. Like, everyone's got their sights on the championship. Everyone's building rosters to go accomplish that thing. You're sort of the target of a lot of these other teams. Like Lane Kiffin, he's tweeting about the schedule next year not having Bama on it because he basically wants a piece of Bama. Like, everybody knows what you did to them over the last basically 2 decades with Saban at the helm. They now want a piece of you because they want to get their pound of flesh because you've carved them up for so many years. So I just think it's a harder task to accomplish that, especially in the NIL era where talent's being spread out more and there's all this money being spent on bringing guys in, and you got Duke with a 5-star quarterback, and you got Kyle McCord, who's a 5-star quarterback, going to Syracuse. Like, you got all these different things kind of shifting and happening and moving. So I think that Alabama's goal is a little bit harder when you don't have Nick Saban and you're in a different era of football than what he was even in, than just simply saying, okay, your job is to beat Michigan. I'll also say this, Nick, both these, I think I'm somebody who subscribes to the idea that all fan bases are kind of cultish, but I also think there's levels to those cults. And Ohio State's up there. Ohio State fans, admittedly, being one is a bit of a cult, but Bama fans they're not quite Texas A&M cult level, but they're definitely up there in terms of one of the more cult fan bases. I mean, they had a guy call into the Paul Feinbaum show and then go poison, what's the name of the tree at Auburn? That's the biggest rival, the tree that they throw the toilet paper on, and they did it last week.
I think his name is Jim.
That's the name of the tree?
Yeah.
Well, no,
it could be Matthew. Very classical names for trees, and man. Maybe Tommy, but his name is real Thomas.
There is a name for like that. Hold on. It's coming to me. It's coming
to you because you're Googling. Don't bullshit me here.
Tumor's Corner. Tumor's Corner.
Everyone can clearly see you Googling, and you're oh, it's coming to me. Off in the distance, I see a light. Tumor's Corner.
I knew, like, the part that came to me was like the corner part, but I couldn't remember what the first word was. So that's why Google came.
So it didn't come to you.
Google came in handy to finish off what was coming to me. No, but yeah, like, you got to be another kind of crazy to do something like that. So I don't know. I think that fan base is a little harsher.
Is it tougher to win? Or sorry, is the tougher job Ohio State or Alabama.
We're trying to Google Tumor's Corner while you're on a podcast.
Yeah. Also, how full of shit was Spencer? Oh, it's coming to me. Oh, I see the light, Lord. Oh, he's conveying the information to me. Tumor's Corner. Yeah, because it says it on your damn computer. Drop your comments here on 92.3 The Fan YouTube's channel or at Nick Wilson Says, at Spencito_ on X. When we come back, we got a potential new athletic director, the Michigan Panic Meter, and more. But first, a word from our sponsors.